I'm Reisigo, and I'm attempting to complete every single GameCube game, but I'm randomizing what game I'm playing next. In this episode, we're collecting Rage Stones with a ninja named Ninja in a game called iNinja. So let's see how iNinja is in 2024. iNinja was released on November 18, 2003, and was developed by Agronaut Games and published by Namco. iNinja is an action platformer where the player takes control of a ninja simply named Ninja. Ninja is hot-blooded and is a smartass whenever given the chance. He's still a rookie and doesn't truly know the way of the ninja though. We're going to be going through New Game and completing this to the final boss of this game to consider this one complete. But before we can get into the gameplay of iNinja, the game opens with a cutscene. In this cutscene, we find Ninja sneaking into the hideout of the Rank, which is the evil ninja group in this game, controlled by Ninja's rival and the main villain of this game, known as Emperor Odor. Ninja is sneaking in to save his Sensei, simply known as Sensei in this game. Ninja is successful and takes down the enemy ninjas without any issues. He then cuts his Sensei free, but is attacked by a giant green creature that he takes down easily. Once the creature is down, it spits out a red stone, and Ninja decides to touch it. This is a Rage Stone and sends Ninja into madness, and he can't control himself. After swinging his sword around wildly, which is then treated with him colliding with his Sensei, and he ends up decapitating him. Luckily for Ninja, Sensei comes back as a ghost and tells us that we need to collect more Rage Stones, and Ninja can finally take down Odor. Sensei tells us that the first Rage Stone is an area called Robot Beach, so we head there right away. Once we got to Robot Beach, we're treated with a scene of a massive robot that is broken down leaning against the cliffs. Now we can move into the gameplay for this game. How this works is that each section of the game has a hub world, like Robot Beach. We can freely roam around in this area and just take it easy. But for us to make any progress, we have to complete missions in each section. To find missions, we have to find doors placed around in the area, and once we agree to take on that mission, it then takes us to that level. The idea is to complete each one of the missions and collect grades so that we can unlock new missions and make our way to fighting the boss of each hub world, and then we can move on to the next hub world. However, this game has one fatal flaw. We have to go back to each one of these missions and complete special tasks to get more grades. Meaning we have to complete missions multiple times to collect grades. And it's required because just doing them once won't give us enough grades to get to the next area usually. I found this extremely annoying, so the game that's maybe a couple hours turns into an 8-hour slogfest and made it hard for me to like this one. Anyways, the actual gameplay for this game is very simple. It's hack and slash to take down enemies. We can throw some projectiles during the game, like darts and ninja stars, and we have to complete specific tasks, but most of them end up just being get to the end of the level without dying. There are a lot of platforming parts in this game, but nothing that's extremely difficult. We can run on walls, and then we can run in a U to get enough momentum to make it to the top of a wall. Think of Ninja Warrior. The gameplay really shines with the boss fights, but I'll talk about them when we get there. But for now, let's go to the first mission of this game. In this mission, we have to find the robot's left eye and return it because it's a turret. This level ends up being the tutorial for this game and does a decent job showing us everything that we need to know heading forward into this game. One really fun thing about this game is that once we collect enough Rage Stones, we unlock abilities that we can use during the level when we fill up our meter. We can fill this up by taking down enemies and breaking crates and stuff along our way during each mission. The first one we get is called Berserk Mode, and that heals us and then allows for us to go crazy on enemies, taking them out with 1 or 2 hits. At some points we can cut enemies in half, and that's always satisfying. Once at the end of these missions, and most missions, we have to complete some tasks to exit the level, and actually finish it. In the first mission we have to get into the robot eye, which ends up being just a ball, and we go down a tunnel taking out enemies, jumping ramps, and dodging objects. Once we get to the end, the mission is over, and we get a ranking for it. These bowling sections are always fun, but extremely frustrating later in the game. And there are some side missions that we have to do that involve these as well. At the end of each mission, we get a ranking, and it will show us our high score, which is just an overall total of things we did in the mission, coinage, which is how many coins we collected during the mission, We can use these to purchase side missions later in the game to earn more grades so that we can advance the plot. And lastly, rank bank, which is how many enemies we took down during the mission. This shows us a sword, and the more we fill this up, the better, because after we take out enough enemies, we can upgrade our sword, making this game much easier, and the sword ends up looking really cool too. Then at the bottom, it shows us how many grades we have, our current belt color, and what color we need to get to the next section of the game. I think that covers the gameplay from here on out, and I'll just talk about the things I found neat, any story beats, and the boss fights since they're really good. I don't think anyone wants to listen to me talk about the same level all 3 times I have to complete it. Speaking of those, usually when we have to do missions multiple times, usually the next time we attempt them, it's within a time limit, collecting all 10 red coins, or killing all the enemies in the mission. So they're usually pretty easy. After completing some more missions, we upgrade our sword to yellow, meaning that we can do more damage, and we become a yellow belt, meaning that we can take on the first boss of the game. The first boss in this game is a giant robotic goblin known as Kaiza. He's massive, and we have to reboot the robot on the beach and fistfight him in the middle of the ocean. This caught me by complete surprise, but it is so fun. The idea of this fight is to avoid his punch by moving left or right or up and down, then countering with a punch combo of our own to do damage. At the beginning of the fight, we're given arrows that light up so we know which way to dodge, but by the 3rd round, we have nothing but his body motions to go off of. So it ends up getting really hard, and I lost a couple of times at this part because I just couldn't read what he was going to throw, because he always pump fakes and will act like he's going to throw a left and then hit you with a right. I could see this being frustrating, but honestly, I had a blast during this part of the game. On the run that I beat him, I just had a really good round 1 and round 2, didn't take much damage, and just predicted the right moves in round 3 to finally take him down and get our next Rage Stone. We get another cutscene here that has Ninja collect the Rage Stone, and he's still unable to control it. A man by the name of Yang thanks us for rebuilding the robot and opens the door out of Robot Beach, leading us to the next hub world of the game called Bombay. This area is more of an ocean and beach, but has a lighthouse and a ship that we can run and jump on, so it's building off of the last area. There is a couple new things that happen during our missions in Bombay. First, there's a mission where we have to run around on a keg barrel of gunpowder. There are tons of hazards during this mission, and if the barrel explodes, we have to start all the way back at the beginning of this mission, with everything reset. So we have to be really careful avoiding enemies, and there's a bunch of fire traps in this one that we also need to avoid. The next thing that is new is fighting oversized enemies. The first one we fight is a ninja with a double-sided blade. We get a little cutscene, and then we go into like another dimension and fight him. We can dash around and attack, and that happens really quickly. These are fun the first time we did it, but they take too long, so it's pretty annoying later in the game when I was just trying to complete the mission. I think this game does a great job at trying to make the gameplay change, so the game doesn't get old, but why with all this effort to make us do levels multiple times? Why was that a choice? Just have a shorter game. It's okay if the game is shorter, if the content is good. It was so frustrating. Another new thing is at the end of one of the missions, in this area we have to ride a rocket to get to the ending area. Nothing overly exciting, but I thought this was cool, and with that mission done, we're able to upgrade our sword to Green Jade Sword, which is one of my favorite looking ones in the game. The last mission we have in this area is completely different than anything we've done up to this point. We have to take control of a mounted gun and take down boats and ships as they try to reach us. If we take too much damage, then we lose and we have to start over. There are 5 rounds of this, each one getting a bit harder than the last one. This switches the game from a hack and slash to a shooter, which was another moment I wasn't expecting in this game. This mission lasted 15 minutes. 15! Did we really need to do that for 15 minutes? And how brutal of this game to make us start from the beginning if we were to lose during it. I would have been so upset if that had happened to me during my playthrough of this game. Completing this gives us enough grades to fight the boss in Bombay. Another interesting fight, we head into the boss fight with Ventus. He is a large mechanical fish and we're trapped in a tank with him basically. It's more like a tower that's flooded, but it acts as his tank for this fight. This boss fight isn't as fun as the last one. This turns into a shoot 'em up at this point. We're inside this submarine and we can dodge back and forth on the screen. This will be helpful when dodging his attacks. He'll throw rocks and spike balls at us, but nothing that's impossible to dodge. We do very little damage just shooting him normal, so we want to pick up power-ups as they fall from the top of the screen. This will let us rapid fire out missiles, which is the only time it looks like we're doing any damage to him. The only real attack we need to worry about is when he charges at us and tries to eat us. This also doesn't do that much damage to us, but way more than anything else he throws at us. So after dodging for a while and shooting at him, we finally land the final hit and he flips upside down. We took him out on our very first try. This will give us a grade for completing the fight, but most importantly, we get another Rage Stone. We get a cutscene of Ninja collecting the stone, and Arya, the Guardian of Bombay, is trying to reward us for saving her with kisses and hugs. We're trying our best to hold back the power of the Rage Stone and are eventually successful, and we make it through the gate and into the next area of the game. This area is called Jungle Falls, and we find out that it's being possessed by a demon known as Saisamon. This area is different though from the last two. We're no longer on the beach, but in a jungle with trees and a river that cuts through the area. This allows for new enemies and new level designs. The missions are the same, but at least we have new things to look at and new enemies to fight. We come across a bunch of bugs in this area, and in the first mission that we completed, we ran into a robot turtle that we can have one of those cinematic battles with. We can use the newly acquired Rage Stone to use a brand new attack with Ninja Shuriken. This ends up being a one-shot kill, and we can move on from that fight. I don't believe that they all end up being one-shot kills from that move, but I could be wrong. As long as we have it charged, we can use it though. The only new thing that we unlock during these missions is that we can control these rockets and we can take them through most of the level as long as we don't hit anything. This can open shortcuts to secret items for us or enemies, and sometimes we have to use them to knock down enemies from areas that we can't normally reach. There are totems in this level that we can destroy with these, but I don't know what the purpose of that is. I thought I got them all, but nothing happened, so I'm not sure if we get anything from it. If you know, let me know down in the comments below. After completing a couple of missions, we get enough rank kills to upgrade our sword again, and we get the stronger Sapphire Sword. So that helps us when we're going back through levels because we don't have to mash attack for as long. At this point in the game, I was getting really annoyed with all the grades, so I started doing the side missions. These are quick and we have to complete a specific task in a short amount of time. This can be collecting red coins or taking out enemies, or just making it to the end of an area before the timer runs out. We can do this once and we get a grade, and I think a lot of these are pretty fun. They can be challenging, but overall I enjoyed them. In this one, we have to run down a path and collect all the red coins and make it to the finish before the timer runs out. Not difficult, but pretty fun. A lot of these have us controlling those balls like we did when restoring the robot at the beginning of the game. Alright, enough playing around, it's time for us to take down Saisamon. But before we can do that, we need to assemble a mech that we can attack demons from the underworld with. We're able to just find some, I guess. I'm not sure how any of this works, but before long, we're ready to fight. We make our way into the mission into a giant green mech and are met with a cutscene showing Saisamon for the first time. This is a floating ninja head with tentacles. This fight is just okay in my opinion. We're in this mech with 2 machine gun arms and we can just fire them until our 500 ammo is gone. Then we can reload and just do it again. But this doesn't do any damage to our friend Saisamon, so we have to wait for him to open his mouth. When he opens his mouth, it ends up being a portal to the underworld, and we have to shoot all the ghosts that come out of the portal. This allows for us to charge the meter on the left of our suit. Once that meter is full, we can shoot a rocket at Saisamon and actually do damage. Rinse and repeat, and you win the fight. This fight turns into just being patient more than anything else. The idea was there, but it just sort of fell flat. There are 2 parts of this fight that I really like though. The fact that the more damage we do to him, the more his face breaks apart, making him look completely different at the end of the fight. The second thing I like is that the ghosts start getting stronger and they'll break into more ghosts when you kill them. So charging the meter happens faster, but we also can take a lot more damage if we're not careful. Once we complete the fight, Sizemon falls back into the portal of the underworld, and then we get another grade for completing the fight. After receiving our grade, we get a cutscene where Ninja is chasing around the Rage Stone and we meet the Guardian of Jungle Falls. His name is Twicky, and he's a coward. He tells us not to grab the stone, but then we're attacked by a bunch of ranked ninjas. They surround us, but Ninja grabs the stone and takes them all out with the blast after he receives it. One does escape and is about to kill Twicky until we show up. After saving his life, he lets us through the gate and we can head to the next area of the game called Mountain Gorge. This is a massive set of mountain cliffs. I like this hub world because all the missions are scattered behind running up walls or platforming instead of them just being right in front of us as soon as we enter the area. A couple new things to point out in this section of the game. First, we're now facing much harder ranked ninjas, which is nice because they were beginning to get way too easy with our upgraded weapons. They also roam around in mechs and robots that can capture us or do massive damage, so we actually have to be careful. One of the missions in this area is actually stealth, and we can't get caught or fight any of the mechs in the area. I don't love stealth in this game, but it was something different at least. Once completing the first mission of this area, however, we're greeted with a sword upgrade. We now have the Red Fire Sword. That was apparently forged in the underworld. It's bright red, and I sort of like this one. Since nothing happens in this area with the missions, and a lot of this game now is doing old missions for the second and third time, we're going to go right into the boss fight for the area with Odor's right-hand man, Malachi. He's a powerful foe and has the power to control elements. These elements can do massive damage to us, and I lost to him on my first attempt. This fight has phases, and is the first boss fight we do without being in some sort of mech, or robot, or submarine, so this fight relies more on the skill of the player than just dodging around or figuring out the timing. We start this fight jumping around a circle arena filled with lava. We have to jump from pillar to pillar as they ascend and descend into the lava. The idea of this section is to use our projectiles to do enough damage to get to the next phase of the fight. This part might be the most difficult because I kept falling into the lava and getting damaged. This isn't the game's fault, but a bad gamer moment for me. I didn't mention it, but during all this, he's shooting electric fireballs at us, so we have to deal with that on top of just staying on the platforms. Once we get his health down about 1/3 of the way, we get another little cutscene where he removes the lava, and we get to fight him on even ground. This is phase 2 of this fight. This part is extremely easy compared to the first one. He will teleport around the arena, but all we have to do is wait for him to strike the ground with a shockwave attack. This opens him up so that we can attack him with our sword, and we end up doing massive damage. If we're too far away, he will continue to shoot electric fireballs at us, but we can just run to the side to dodge them. When we start this section, I take the time to heal because our health is pretty low, and then we go in and try to attack him. There are a few other attacks that he does. There's a super shockwave attack that shoots out 3 rings at once. This is still our chance to attack him because he's almost stunned after doing it. If we get too close, he swings his staff at us, and then every once in a while, he performs this running attack where he swings his staff all crazy. I found this really hard to dodge, and it does pretty decent damage to us. This fight ends up being a long process because I can't get him to perform the shockwave attack for like the whole fight, and then he just chips away at my health. The best part of this is that once we dodge, hit him, or take damage, we can perform our special Rage Stone skills and recover our health. This means that we're basically in a stalemate most of the time. But after a long time, we're able to land the final blow to take down Malachi. Finally. After defeating him, we get another grade for our trouble, and then teleport back to the Mountain Gorge, where a giant moon-shaped stone appears. Ninja tries to climb on it because he thinks it's a Rage Stone like before, but this one is different. Zorola, a female ninja and the guardian of this area, tells us that it's a teleportation stone and it will take us to Odor's moon base. She also lets us know that there is a stone of life that we can use to bring back Sensei, or we can use it to live forever. So now we have a choice if we end up finding the stone. Then finally we're teleported to the moon base. This area is underwhelming and is just a cave with doors. That's just how it looks. It doesn't feel much like the moon to me. Finishing the first mission of this area gives us enough rank kills to upgrade our sword again. This time we get the Soul Sword, which is the best sword we can get in the game. This will give us the highest damage output in the game and should make finishing this hub world much easier. There isn't much new in this area, it's just combining all the skills we have into harder missions so that we can show off that we know how to use them. But there is one mission I want to point out because it's extremely annoying and I died during this section so many times because I would let go of something or fall into the electric pool of water. Or I just wouldn't make a jump and then I would fall into the pool of water. So we come into a room and we need to destroy this machine at the bottom of this tower. The water rises up and then it goes back down. Think of it as ocean tides. When the water goes all the way down, we have to jump down, destroy part of the machine. There are 4 of these sections. Once we destroy one, we get attacked by ninjas, but we don't have time to fight them because the water is going to rise back up to the top and we have to platform our way back up. If we touch the water, we die. Like I said, this took me so many tries and it's not even that hard. I don't know why I couldn't do it. This isn't even that important to the game, but just a section that gives me problems when most of this game hasn't. We were able to finish it though after a few tries, and then we went back and completed a bunch of missions to get enough grades so that we could finally go to the final boss fight of the game. The fight with Odor. It's finally that time. We head to the door for the mission right away. Once inside, we get to see Emperor Odor for the very first time. Ninja and Odor have an exchange of words, mainly Ninja telling him how he smells bad and jokes related to that. I have issues with this though. Odor says that we must be the ninja that killed his own master and caused chaos, and he was expecting us. In this game, it is stated that Odor is our rival, but we've never met him before? How does that make any sense? Can you be a rival with someone that you've never met before? This bothers me so much. Anyways, we start the fight, and this is another boss fight with phases. In the first phase, he will shoot us with these discs that are easy to avoid by just jumping over them. For us to do damage, we have to hit him in the flashing circle on his stomach, which isn't that bad. We can just run in when he shoots the disc and hit him. However, once we hit him, he will respond with a counter of slamming his gun fist on the ground. This does a bit of damage, and the timing is hard to get used to for dodging, but overall, he doesn't do much else during this phase of the fight. I think if you were really good at timing for this part, this could have been done in a matter of minutes. After getting hit a lot and healing a bunch of times, we're able to land the final hit on Odor, but remember, this is only phase number 1. He gives us a bit of dialogue and tells us that we're too weak and slow, and our sensei is probably rolling in his grave because of how bad we are. Then he teleports out of this arena, and we have to follow him. We follow him and find ourselves on the moon, the only part of this area that actually looks like the moon, or that we're even in space. Once we get close enough to him, it triggers the second part of this fight, and this part is easier in my opinion, but I think that it's only because I figured out the timing for his attacks during this fight. He starts the fight by shooting rockets at us. The rockets can be avoided by running left and right, so this isn't hard at all. Once we get close to him, he goes back into the same attacks from the first phase of the fight, shooting disc and then slamming the ground. We still just need to attack his stomach, the glowing circle on his belt buckle or something. The only new thing that he does when we're close to him is that sometimes he will cause a wave of energy to come out and it will shoot us all the way back to the outside of the arena. This requires us to run all the way back over to him and avoid the rockets again until we get close. It doesn't do any damage, but can cause us to get hit by rockets if we're not paying attention. Once we start to get his health down, he will push us away more often, which makes this fight just longer. Not any harder, just longer, because we have to run back to him every single time he hits us with that pushback. Berserk mode is our best friend in this fight, because it lets us do extra damage, and this cuts down the amount of trips we have to make. The one thing about this fight that I want to point out is that whenever Odor moves or attacks, he farts. They love that humor, I guess, but it's just so annoying to hear over and over again when fighting him, especially in a fight that takes too long. Games really have come a long way since this time, but I just wanted to point it out because I just didn't like it. We do eventually get his health down and land the final hit to defeat Emperor Odor, for good. In this cutscene, there is ooze everywhere, and I think this is supposed to be snot or something, but Ninja is avoiding it as it falls to the ground. I don't know if this means that Odor exploded or something, but it's pretty gross. Ninja's looking for the Stone of Light as he avoids the ooze, but Sensei is telling him that he doesn't need it and that he would think he would have grown during all this time. The Stone of Light appears and Ninja hugs it. Sensei turns and floats away, telling us that we had so much potential, and then Ninja yells, "Actions speak louder than words," which Sensei says like 100 times during the game, and throws the stone at Sensei. This brings him back to life, and they both argue as they teleport from the moon and head back to Earth. Once they leave, the ooze reassembles and forms Emperor Odor again, meaning that he isn't dead, so the game ends on a cliffhanger. The cutscene ends and the credits roll. We finished iNinja and completed another game for the challenge. Would I recommend this game? I think I would recommend this game. The hack and slash and platforming is pretty good, but the boss fights are super fun and I really like that part of the game. The side missions are enjoyable and are the only thing in this game with any real challenge. My issues come with the fact that this game makes you replay missions 3 times to get more grades, instead of just making us play the levels once or twice at the very most. This game's humor is something I don't like, but I could see people enjoying it. But let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and check out the last GameCube game that we completed in our challenge that's on the screen now. If you made it this far, make sure to subscribe to the channel because it helps us out. Like and share this video so we can get more eyes on this challenge. But until the next one, we'll see ya. So this is how this works. I have a random number generator ready to go with 510, which is how many games we have left. I have a list of every GameCube game that we haven't already played. And then we'll find out what's next. So on the count of 3, we're going to figure out what we're playing next. 3, 2, 1. We got 36, which is Big Air Freestyle, which is a Moto X game. I don't think I've ever played this, but that is what is next.